Yo, what is up, everybody? Brent here. Hope everybody's having an amazing Tuesday. It is December 16th. Before we get started, I always forget to do this. Let me know if you guys been in here, if you're already in here. Let me know, one, if this is the first time in the chat, and then two, what country you're tuning in from. Always like to see where everybody's at. Noticing a lot of people, a lot more people from Europe. Now that you can see everybody's regions, a lot more homies from Europe than I would have realized. But anyway, hope everybody's having an amazing day. It is 1 p.m. here where I'm at in California. I know a lot of you in the US are probably experiencing some pretty crazy winter weather. Uh, Luckily, not me though. I'm blessed. It's like sunny and I don't know, like 65 outside right now. So it's a blessing. I was just getting some sun here before the stream, but yeah, hope everybody's having an amazing day. I know it seems like every day that goes by, it gets slower and it seems like there's less and less going on. But anybody who's been around and studied these past periods know that almost always these periods end in boredom, and it's actually bullish. But bullish in the right circumstances. But again, we on the last few weeks on the streams, on the tweets, in the Telegram, I've been talking about this Bitcoin setup that I think is very likely going to breathe new life back into crypto, and send Bitcoin back over 100K. I put out this tweet probably actually last FOMC is when I put out the first clip where I talked about in here how the hesitance at 93K for Bitcoin, the way it was kind of chopping sideways and kind of rejecting at that 3 or 4 day high, whatever it was likely to send it down one more time. But anybody who's studied higher time frame charts can see that all of these big Bitcoin corrections that we've experienced over the last few years have ended in one thing, and that's consolidation, which is again holding a certain low, retesting that low, or just holding above it before sending back to all-time highs. And Bitcoin, every time it's been in these corrections, has consolidated for 3 to 8 weeks before going up. Which right now, what do you see here? Bitcoin has been holding this low here. Fuck. I'm not even sharing my screen. Bitcoin has been holding this low here for 3 to 4 weeks, or about 4 weeks now here. It's been about 26 days. So we're coming up on 4 weeks, which again tracks with these past bottom corrections. What did we see here in April? I don't know if you guys remembered. We got all the drama with the tariff news, everything that went on. We slowed down, we went up, and then Bitcoin swept that low one more time, creating a kind of a sweep, double bottom, and then sent to all-time highs. What I've been expecting here, and I think we're seeing it play out to pretty much perfection right now, is going to be a repeat or something very similar to that setup, I think, play out over the next few weeks. I think Bitcoin, especially now that we've been chopping down slowly towards this low at 81K, is very likely going to bottom out between here and 81K in one of three ways. I think either it's going to form a higher low, which we don't take out 81K, a double bottom, which is like equally hits it, or we're going to sweep the low like we saw in April. But I think either way, everything, even the lower time frames now, I would say 80-90% likelihood, and to me, based on these past kind of setups, that Bitcoin is close to the bottom here. It's always tricky during Christmas time, obviously. It's most of the hedge fund types, or like the institutional traders, usually, you know, are on vacation, and you don't get as much volume. I mean, let's just look at last Christmas for Bitcoin, right? What was it? Last Christmas for Bitcoin. What was it? It's over here. I'm tripping. Uh, was just kind of sideways, right? We got a little bit of a chop up. This was the top. Usually in 2023, we got some sideways. Usually it holds a pretty tight range the last few weeks of the year. So honestly, it might play into our favor. The slower that Bitcoin chops down towards this low and presents what I like to call corrective behavior, which again, um, corrective behavior tells us that we're looking at pretty much without getting too far into it, the more we chop into this low, the more likelihood that this is the last leg of this double bottom instead of a continuation into the 70K. So what would invalidate that is if somehow Bitcoin just picked up out of nowhere here and gave us like two or three daily red candles going straight through that low, something like we saw back here where it's just straight red candles down, very impulsive. But again, this right here looks so much to me like the end of the correction we saw here, the end of the correction that we saw here, where Bitcoin chops sideways, everybody falls asleep, nothing's going on, and then all of a sudden we go up one day, and then the trenches start to come back. Meme coins like Mog, Giga, SPX start to go up. We start to see alts start to XRP, Doge. Like this happens every time Bitcoin comes out of these corrections. And usually these are how these corrections end. So I've just been keeping it really simple with the TA here. I'm not, using fibs or anything crazy hypothetical. I'm literally taking what I've seen in these past corrections and how they end every single time. And that's where the nuggets are, really, guys. If you're looking at chart stuff, I think most indicators, to be honest, when used alone, I'm talking the fibs, the Elliott waves are a little bit more complex, but I'm talking indicators. Most of the time, they're going to be pretty inaccurate alone. The real, um, the real stuff that repeats in markets and the stuff that you can actually study, pretty much the stuff that works, you're going to find studying the higher time frame charts. Okay, it's not going to be. I made this joke here on last stream, but like, let me let this look. Most people, they look at charts, but like they're looking at this. Like this is their TA. Like they're trying to tell, okay, what's the market going to do off of this? When really this is a small piece to just like a bigger puzzle. The only way you're really going to I think people can do short term chart strategies, but really the biggest nuggets and the patterns that you can actually take and see repeat time and time again and actually use to your advantage in the markets. At least for me, I've found are on the higher time frames. So and really, one of the perfect examples are these higher time frame bottoms, right? Nobody's talking about this. I don't really see anybody talking about, okay, most of the time bottoms are formed to 3 to 8 weeks of consolidation, blah, 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 blah. Because again, most people are focused on what Fibonacci level is it at, or is it, they're looking at the 5 minute chart trying to, it's just not going to tell you anything, to be honest, more than just past a few minutes. So yeah, Bitcoin, I think, is coming very likely, guys, coming to the end of what is a higher time frame bottom pattern, I think. And I think what we're going to see, pretty much my whole point in Christmas earlier, saying that I didn't really finish my thought, is that Christmas is usually slow. So we could go into the end of the year still where we're at now. We could see Bitcoin chop back down to maybe 80, 82K, 83K to end the year. And that would still be very bullish to me because, again, how slowly and how choppy this is into this low. It's a classic setup we often see make up the final leg of a bottom. So this is kind of what I'm expecting. I'm short Bitcoin. I'm short ETH from 3,200. Let's see if I can get the picture of the here. Let me get it. No, I'm not gonna pull it up. I can't even find it. But I'm short. I'm short ETH from 3,200. I've taken about 60% of my position off so far. I would not be surprised if we get a little bit lower first, but I am going to be mostly out of my position on this next leg down and looking to open a long position because, again, I think Bitcoin is bottoming out here very likely in the next week or two, and we'll head back into the hundreds. We're looking at ETH right now, so but Bitcoin will head back into the hundreds, I think, from here. From there, guys, one of two things is going to happen. Either it's going to use this bottom as a springboard all the way back to all time highs, just like we saw in April, where we got one and done. It was one low and it took back off, which I think is possible, even though Bitcoin this move down is way lower than the 200 moving average. But the second scenario that could play out, right, and we got to be, ready for or cognizant of, is that Bitcoin does bottom out, but it chops up slowly towards the 200 moving average. Wow, this line looks all fucked up. I'm going to redo that. No, but it goes up towards the 200 moving average, this red line here, but fails to break and gives us one more low into the end of the year, right? That would be technically, let me erase this one. That would technically be looked at as a quote unquote bear market, right? Where Bitcoin is more in an extended, 6 to 9 month, year long correction, which I think is possible. I put this the second uh the second what's it called? This second scenario at about 25 to 30% likelihood. Probably now probably about a 20% likelihood, and I think an all-time high bounce from here, based mostly on the fundamentals, the stuff outside of the price. We're talking about the institutional stuff, which we're going to talk about here in a second, guys. I didn't even talk about it, but JP Morgan today launching a tokenized money market fund on Ethereum. And for anybody who knows is in the finance world, they understand the money markets are one of the biggest uh, asset classes in traditional finance. So that'll be a huge, we'll talk about that. That could be a huge onboarding. We're going to talk about UK versus US. I know there's a lot of UK people in here. I have a lot of UK is behind the US, like the second most biggest audience that we have on the stream. So shout out to you if you're from the UK. We're going to talk about the UK is taking a more policing approach and trying to be more hard on crypto versus the US, which is kind of looks like so far they're trying to let the deregulate the industry almost. So we're going to talk about both of those approaches. We're going to talk about some low and mid cap setups as well. And but yeah, just to finish the thoughts on Bitcoin, guys, I think we're very likely bottoming out here soon, and I think we probably bounce back to all time highs despite what everybody's thinking we're in a bear market because of the regulatory stuff, because of all the stuff in the macro land getting a lot better. Um, the only thing that I could see put a little bit of headwinds is that the S&P 500 looks like, I'm not gonna lie, like you know, it looks like it may come down here. I don't know if it's going to come down this deep, but it's a similar kind of setup as we saw the other day on Bitcoin. Is that the S&P 500 was consolidating here for 2 or 3 weeks, right at a 2 month high. Essentially, when you get a consolidation within a bigger consolidation, oftentimes you shift out of that. It's going to create a big reversal. So I would not be surprised to see the S&P 500 maybe not dip this low, but maybe do something like this over the next few weeks. Oops. Over the next few weeks. Boom, 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 and then go up. But I would not be surprised to see the S&P 500 come down a bit more to end the year. But Ethereum, same way. ETH's actually even a fucking more obvious setup because of how choppy this move down is so far. I'm gonna go and it looks actually pretty similar to this one we got here the last bottom too, except this one on Ethereum swept the low. So we got a 1 month consolidation. Bitcoin swept the low. A lot of people probably got really short there. They probably sold a lot of shit, and then all of a sudden it went back up. We could see that on ETH where it sweeps the low, or it could just barely touch it, or it could form a higher low. Either way, I'm preparing myself very likely for it to get into a long position. And other than that, guys, I've just been accumulating the kind of the barbell, the movement memes, movement coins, as well as the revenue producing coins, the pumps, the asters, the hyperliquids, stuff like that, as well as some other low cap stuff we're going to go over here, as if this is going to be the bottom. Again, with the understanding that we could always trade up and then trade lower into later next year. But I think all of the signs, if this were any other time, like in 2024, and we saw all these bullish signs happening outside of crypto, everybody would be a lot more optimistic. I think it's just been a really tough year for a lot of people. So a lot of people's morale and their belief is just really low, right? But I mean, anybody who's been around for a few cycles knows that even through the toughest times, crypto always finds its way. After FTX, right? Dude, FTX, I remember talking to a homie of mine who was like, it was kind of in and out of crypto, kind of like does it when it's hot, like, whatever. He's just, his whole perception is like crypto is just a fraud, like it's fucked now, right? Like, but we came out of that. Now all the institutions are on our side, the regulatory stuff. Now we're finally getting price action that I think is going to align for the first time in months. And I personally am choosing to DCA now and to I don't know, just prepare myself now, because most people again tweet and just get really bearish on the way down because they're focusing on the short-term price action and then just bandwagon on the way up. But the biggest wins, you don't have to be extremely smart to get big wins in crypto. I think you just have to buy when other people are just freaking out, and just have the strength and the conviction and the whatever the fucking patience to outlast everybody. That's really it. But yeah, 16 minutes in. If everybody could, I'm gonna go ahead and check the chat real quick. I know I went on a little bit of a rant, but I wanted to touch on what's good. Crops, I see you, brother. Um, I wanted to get into Bitcoin because I know that's what a lot of people are focused on right now because there's not much going on. One, and then two, Bitcoin drives the health of everything. Before I get to the chat, guys, Bitcoin drives the hell. Where's that tweet? Bitcoin drives the health of everything, right? Most people during these times, they blame Alon, the pump fund trenches, the different launch pads, deployers, all these different things for why meme coins and crypto just aren't doing well. And while those reasons sometimes are very valid, it's not why meme coins are not doing well right now. Meme coins are not doing not well right now because Bitcoin has been in a 3 to 6 month correction. What is it? A 3 month correction now is down 25 to 30%. Um, and it may not play out day to day, but it is undefeated that every single time and this tracks back to last cycle too. Every time Bitcoin corrects, everything comes down essentially, besides a few outliers, of course. But generally, the market comes down hard, and especially in these big corrections. Essentially, this is the cycle of crypto. Don't let anybody else tell you any different. This is the life cycle of crypto, like 90% of the time, right? Let's just start at April. Let's just start in 2024 here. Everybody remembers, Bitcoin was, yeah, sorry, I forgot to share my screen. Bitcoin, um, topped out here in April of 2024. Everybody remembered, meme coins were popping. I remember um, Mog, everything went from like 7 million up to like 3 or 400 million or something. And meme coins were popping off. Bitcoin topped out, meme coins died for 3 to 6 months. Pump fund wasn't as going as crazy, but meme coins died out. Bitcoin bottomed out here in September. We ran, we started running, and what happened? Mog, SPX, Giga, the Murad speech came out. Um, the AI meta came out around this time last year. And then what happened? Trump coin came out. Everybody kind of blames Trump coin for topping the market, which for meme coins, which is somewhat valid. But what really topped the entire market out is what happened. Bitcoin topped out in late January. What happened then? Markets came down like crazy. Meme coins died out. The pump fund trenches almost went, fucking completely bare. There was those little streaming meta, but nothing was able to pop off. Why? Because Bitcoin's not going up. What happened? We bottomed out. What happened in April? Mog 7x'd. We got, oh, I'm sorry. The streaming meta was a little bit up here, but we got that little bit of a streaming meta. We got some things that happened that popped off. But what happened? Bitcoin only went up off of this low here for 50%, and it only went up for about 3 months. So we saw MOG at SPX stuff start to go up, but 3 months didn't give enough time for the trenches to really come back in full force, for the launch pads to really catch heat, for kind of retail to kind of start to come in, like we saw in last year a bit. And what happened? Bitcoin topped out, and what did we see? Some real depression the last few months because Bitcoin or the trenches got hit even harder after being, not having a strong year previously. So I'm trying to show you here that it's simple. People try to complicate things. There's a lot of nuance in things. While those things are valid with pump fund and all that, I think what's really everyone needs to focus on here is that Bitcoin drives the health. Bitcoin and the majors drive the health of the entire market, and that's why I focus so much on Bitcoin and during these times. And that's why I say it's going to breathe new life into the market, like it always does if we get this bounce here. Let's go ahead and get to the chat. My screen went black. I'm still seeing it. Let me know if you guys can still see my screen. My producer's telling me it's fucked, but I can still see it. What's good, Lucky? Nice to see you, brother. What's up? I don't know. What do you mean all the way back? Um. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Myblin, what's up? Sada, nice to see you, brother. But if you guys could like, comment, retweet, share the stream, always appreciated. We're gonna do $100 USDC giveaway at the end here as well. My Nas, what's up, Catalic? How you doing, brother? Miss D, what's up? First time, Shayo says, first time, just saw the message in Telegram in Europe, Switzerland. Man, I have not been to Switzerland, but I've seen some pictures. I need to do a Euro trip here in fucking 2026. I plan on doing a lot of international travel. Hit some international crypto events too. 808, what's up? How you doing? How you doing? I know I've been neglecting the chat, but I wanted to get um, to the Bitcoin setup because I think that's what's going to drive everything. That's what's going to bring everything back. Sada, what's up? Sada says biggest Lebanese fan here. Shout out to you. I've not been to Lebanon either, but fucking what's the weather like in Lebanon right now? Virginia, you're probably dealing with some pretty cold weather. I'd imagine. Justice. Sup, Zeus. I saw your DM. I respond. Okay, you guys are chopping it up, forming some community in the chat. Love to see that. MKT, what's good? 20 and 30 says, hey, Bren, what's up, brother? Brother Bren, nice to hear from you. Nice to hear from you too, Cryptolicious. Yes, you're right. Can you check hype? Yes, I will check hype. Thoughts on NASDAQ going to be open around the clock? Yes, yes, yes. So gap traders are in shambles right now. They're gonna have to find a new way to analyze the market. No more gaps. No. I don't know. I think it's just pointing to where the whole world's headed, right? And that's speculation, gambling for everything to have a market. And I think this is going to play to crypto's favor because all of this stuff is going to go on chain, right? So what do I think? I think it's going to, it's going to merge crypto and the stock market together. Everything's going to go on chain, and I think it's pretty cool, right, to be able to trade stocks when you know trade stocks around the clock, like on Saturday or Sunday. I think it's going to be 23/7 if I either 23/7 or 24/6. One of those two. I'm confusing. It's either going to be open 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. I forgot which one. I think it's 23 hours, but um I think it's sick. I think what the vision is essentially crypto, and why I'm so fucking bullish and why it's the long-term path is so obvious, I think, is that essentially the premise is that crypto and traditional finance are just merging. Right? In order for the Nasdaq to be able to be 24/7 um transparently and everything, it's going to be need to be on chain. So I think the vision is just TradFi and crypto are merging. A lot of people think that's not going to lead to meme coins and NFTs and altcoins and anything outside of Bitcoin and the institutional stuff ever going up. I beg to differ. I think what's going to end up happening here is that the institutions pushing crypto is going to lead to more adoption of digital wallets and you know digital wallets, prediction markets, different things that's going to onboard people into digital wallets, essentially into crypto, which is going to grow the bigger piece of the pie. So yeah, maybe not everybody who's trading tokenized stocks or collecting digital collectibles or has stable coins is going to buy SPX 6900, but a good amount of chunk of that is going to go into other stuff in crypto. So I think thoughts on NASDAQ being traded around the clock, I think that's bullish for crypto and just a sign of the times. Have you looked at Brett? No, we'll look at Brett. Sneak reposted the stream. Shout out to you, Sneak. Thank you for sharing, bro. I'm looking to buy Bitcoin at 81K, ETH 2.8. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much the same plan as far as accumulating a long position. I've been accumulating spot ETH for a couple of weeks, but as far as a long position, I'm going to be mostly out. Really, the way I have it set up here is, and maybe you guys, people might be able to learn from this, is that for ETH, the way that you don't really have to like get all in and out of positions is that I'm long from 3,200. I'm short from 3,200. Long from 3,200 would be devastating, but short from 3,200. And I've been taking profits on the way down. So really what I did, 3,200, I was short. Went down on this candle here. I took a bit off. We bounced. I put a little bit back on. We went down. And I took some off here. I didn't add on this last one. I was not looking at the screen. I think this was overnight. And didn't get to enter back in here. And then now I've taken a little bit off more. What I've done during this time too is I've moved my stop loss into profit so that if somehow I'm sleeping here, I'm fucking at the gym or whatever, and the price bottoms out here and just rips. Like there's some kind of news. Fucking China buys Bitcoin. This shit rips to all time highs. It takes me out of my short position in profit, and I don't have to worry about, you know, being in the negative or whatever. So now essentially I'm heavy in the profit. I'm heavy in profit. I've already, locked in a bunch of gains right now. I'm just letting the market play out. And if it goes down again, I'm going to get out of the more of that position. And really the two things I'm looking for, guys, to get into a long position right now is one, like I said, Bitcoin comes down and does what Sod is maybe saying, that maybe ETH comes down. I'm looking at ETH. ETH comes down one more time and sweeps 26 or just comes down to 27. I'm going to manually close most or if not all of my short position and start manually entering into some ETH longs. Again, because we could go lower, we could sweep, but I think the risk to reward here at 33, I'm sorry, at 33. If we came down to 26, is good there. And I would slowly start to accumulate along. And then scenario two is if we just started chopping here, where we're at right now, for like a week, 3 or 4 days, maybe we really started to slow down near Christmas, that could also that could act as a launch pad as well. Pretty much the two things I'm looking for is either another sweep down to get out of my short completely and enter a long position, or some type of consolidation to do the same, essentially get out of the short, enter the long. So I think what we're essentially coming towards is the end of a corrective bottom, and very likely coming to the start of what I think is going to be a big bounce to either end or to start the year. The next 10 days, literally anything could happen. We could chop sideways, we can go down and bottom out. But I think overall, the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, that Bitcoin, ETH, Sol likely bottom out and are probably higher than they are right now. So let me know what you guys think in the chat. Is that, what you've been seeing on the timeline versus kind of what you're seeing, what you've been noticing? I still think that the vast majority of people, at least what I'm seeing in my echo chamber, is most people are assuming that a bear market is a foregone conclusion. That, of course, we're in a bear market now. We could bounce a little bit. It's over, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not so sure, right? I think of course, we need to see us trade back above the 200 moving average. But like I always say, I've been saying a lot in the last few weeks that even if Bitcoin take would go up one more time and then tops out at, let's just say ETH, since I'm on here, ETH goes up one more time, tops out at 35, 4,000, something like that, and comes down one more time. If we look at the worst bear markets ever, they last 9 to 12 months. We've already been at the top here for arguably 2 or 3 months. So what would be another 5 or 6 months? Yeah, it'd be boring as hell. That's not what I want to happen, obviously. But just keep in mind that when people say bear market, it doesn't mean a nasty 2 to 3 year winter. I see that's so unlikely here after we see JP Morgan, which we haven't talked about yet, launching. This is a perfect time to bring this up. Launching a money market fund, a money market fund on Ethereum. Today, JP Morgan launched the largest bank by market cap, announced they are launching the first ever tokenized money market fund, Money, on Ethereum. The firm is seeding the fund with 100 million of its own capital before opening outside investors. How much of the traditional finance market is made up of money market funds?
So money market funds are definitely a significant slice of the traditional finance market, but they're not like the majority or anything. As of recent years, they've typically represented a few trillion dollars.
Okay. So like a few trillion in assets, pretty much kind of where Bitcoin's like what Bitcoin's like 1 point something. That's really significant. I think this is just another sign that TradFi is merging with crypto, and that's going to lead to not only Ethereum going higher, but I think just more crypto adoption, more adoption of crypto wallets, which I think is going to lead to NFTs, a lot of stuff seeing adoption. Essentially, we're moving towards a world where digital assets are just going to become a thing. That's it. Simple terms. And we're just seeing this play out. Institutions are, of course, going to be first to this, and then they're going to market it to the entire world. So a lot of people think, oh, the institutions are, they're the exit, or they're the exit liquidity, which they are for some of these big Bitcoin whales. But do you think these biggest institutions in the world are really buying the top of crypto? Like, ask yourself that. Like, it's not like these guys are like, oh yeah, they're guessing. Like, these guys decide where the traditional finance more or less heads towards. So it's just like you got to see. It's just so fucking obvious, and it's just like it's why you have to pull your like head out of crypto, like Twitter, like the bubble sometimes, and just look simply outside. These are the things that we saw in April that led me to really get bullish before we headed up, because all of these traditional finance macro things in the background are fucking flashing bright green, but the average person on crypto Twitter is zoomed in on the 15-minute chart to the last fucking, like this, worried. It's just you got to zoom out. But let me finish up the chat here. Can't wait to see the incredible bounce for USDUC. Yeah, I think USDUC is gonna fucking. It, I liken USDUC to like when I first started in crypto in 2020, 2021, 2019. There were certain coins on YouTube, like Elio Trades and like fucking Lark Davis and these guys were talking about, that you could buy at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million market cap, that when the entire world came back to crypto went to like 100 million, some of them like $1 billion. And I see some of these meme coins like USDUC as that, where it's like crazy opportunities to get some low cap gems, I think. So yeah. Do you think at some point Bitcoin movement will decouple from Sol slash E slash meme coins? Curious to see your take on this, because I think it will happen at some point. That's a great question. There's a lot of nuance in this, because as we've seen essentially for all of 23 and 24, Bitcoin and Sol outperform ETH. So they're always going to run. They're always going to run at different times, right? Traditionally, on the higher time frames, you're talking about on the monthly and the weekly, they're going to move together when Bitcoin is pumping. But there's going to be some years we should expect, just like any of these other assets, that there's going to be some years where Bitcoin runs for a long time, and then there's going to be other years where ETH dominates, and there's going to be other years where Sol dominates, and then there's going to be years where none of them do shit, right? Like we've seen this year. So I think to answer your question, it's always going to be different. But traditionally, what we've seen so far is that I think what's going to happen is all three of them are going to go up over the next few years. I think there's going to be so much on-chain demand for block space demand, and all three of them, demand for Bitcoin and then block space demand on Solana and ETH, that all three of them are going to go crazy. But to answer your question, zooming out in 5 years, of course they're going to move at different times. Um, what was I going to say too? It's just like Tesla and Apple, right? Tesla will move 1 year, Apple doesn't move 1 year. Some years they move together. 2020 and COVID, everything ran. It just depends, right? I like holding bags of all of them, because sometimes they're going to move at different times. But that's a great question. It's going to be a good clip. Wade Mammal, what's up, brother? Oh, from Syria. Damn, you're in Syria right now? That's amazing. Interested in hearing your analysis on yeah, let's go. We'll hop into that in just a second. But yeah, if you guys could like, comment, retweet, share, all of that good stuff, always appreciated. I've had a blast doing these streams, even during these down times. Like, it's a really highlight of my day. I really love hanging out with all you guys, and we've been blessed to catch a lot of the big plays this year, while the rest of the market you know was down together. And I'm not talking about like, we caught it midway, like in Pengu, Pump. Like, I was talking about how both of them are setting up very nicely to go on, and both of them went on to 5 to 12x, 13x runs in Pengu's case. So that was during a downtime in the market. I can't imagine the gains we're gonna get, all the shit we're gonna learn together during the good times. So shout out to everybody who's here hanging out. If someone wanted to buy Aster at what price, I would be, if you're trying to buy Aster Creed with like a longer term time horizon, which I think everybody should do. I think you give yourself way higher chances at winning if you're able to take a higher time frame view on things. Um, Sorry, somebody, I got a text. But take a longer term view on things. For me, I'm buying stuff during corrections, planning to hold for weeks or months, and taking profits on the way up. Some of these things I'm holding for a lot longer. So if that's the case, brother, I would be averaging in right now. That's what I'm doing for Aster. I've been averaging in now, and whether it goes down a little bit more or the bottom's in now, it's I don't have to guess. Are we going to see Bitcoin at 100K this year? I don't know about this year, bro. Christmas is always a tricky time. Like the last 3 or 4 years, Bitcoin stayed within a 10 or 15% range. Does that mean that this range is breached by, or like we head higher by the end of the year? It's possible, but I'm not sure. You said, bro, they bought in the bear and they sold it to their people in the top. I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Honestly, I feel pretty confident that Sol and Bitcoin started to bottom out here. Yeah. Uranus, a good low cap gem, not gonna lie. Yeah, I haven't really bought into Uranus. I haven't really got into it. I've just heard differing takes on whether I don't know. I think it's memeable for sure. And but what are your thoughts on the yearly close? Again, timing, guys, when you're talking about next few weeks, if something's gonna happen, I can I can give like an educated guess based on what I think based on, this bottom being 4 weeks already, this consolidation. And that's usually a pretty long one, but even then we're at Christmas time. There's so much, whatever. I think anybody who tells you what's going to happen, they know what's going to happen in the next week or the next few days, and put a time frame on it, usually are bullshitting you, to be honest. Or usually, to me, I just don't think I think I'll say it like this time. I think taking the approach of trying to determine what price is going to do on this certain day is not the right approach, right? I think you just look at these setups, and this setup tells me the bottom's close. Whether the bottom is in here, it happens in next week. We chop here for 3 weeks. We go up right here. Like there's so many things that could happen, but timing, like actual time, like putting a date on things, is the hardest, the most difficult, and really I think the most meaningless, uh, like thing to do in crypto. There's a reason why options traders, which is pretty much that, where you say I think price is going to be here on this day. There's a reason why most people don't make money with options, because that's incredibly hard. It's just about buying spot and letting the setup play out. Because this setup right here, uh, it could bottom out here, or because of Christmas, it could take 2 or 3 more weeks, or it could take a month. The same setup could play out 3 or 4 different ways, pretty much. That could take a different amount of time. So trying to determine what's going to happen here, if it's going to happen next week, is it going to happen the week after, is it going to happen fucking 3 days from now? I have no clue, but I can tell you that this setup is based on past setups, just like this, is telling me that the bottom is close. So do you think Cupsy is dead? The coin, the coin. Honestly, I don't know anything about the coin. I know it's the fucking meme of, or the mascot of Pump Fun, but I don't know enough about the coin other than I guess I can look at the chart. Um, I'm gonna be real. Like I don't really like the that it broke through this consolidation. Um, I mean, this was 5 months of consolidation. Broke through there, consolidated again. Pretty much what you want to see this do is consolidate and form a low for at least a few weeks to kind of reverse this. Other than that, I just don't think this is a great setup. This has been a very impulsive dump out. I don't know anything about the team. There's only $8,000 in volume on this. Again, but if it consolidated and kind of stopped in its tracks for a few weeks, then you could see the reversal. But I don't really see anything too bullish on this chart until it started to consolidate. It is down. It's like 15, like 95%. Uranus. I'm trying to. Sorry, Crypto Prince. You said that's not what I meant. I meant what's your thoughts on what the effect of green/red could be? Oh yeah. Um, you said the yearly. I don't even know if I have the yearly on here. I mean, if we compare this to last month, like recent monthly closes, it's definitely a lot more. Oh wait, we have like a doji on this one. A lot of indecision. So, oh fuck, I'm not sharing my screen. A lot of indecision on this monthly close if we close here. But again, there's 2 weeks left in the month, so I honestly don't pay too much attention to closes. Like single candle closes. I'm more so in structure. Um, so I don't know. I wouldn't really put too much into account, or I wouldn't really think too much about it. Aura Farm will rise from the trenches. Watch. Yeah, we did look at Aura Farm last week, but let's go ahead and talk about. We already talked about the money market fund for ETH a bit. Again, just another sign of institutional adoption coming, guys. And again, this is just going to lead to crypto adoption. It's just massive crypto adoption. Shout out to Hemdog for retweeting the stream. Just look through the comments to make sure miss anything. Thread guy right now is on with fucking what is it, Jack Duvall. I definitely want to watch that after I'm done. I think he has Cupsy on today too, which is pretty interesting.
It's not scalable. I've talked about what I think is a scalable version of meme coins and what isn't, and I definitely think it's not that I think that like meme coins per se should be like eviscerated or sorry, new pairs should be eviscerated, but it's not scalable, right? There's like 200 people that can really do that successfully because again, the bonding curve, there's only so many people that can buy a coin pre-bond, right? If you take an Elon
It's really interesting interview.
comes out,
Definitely check it out
right?
after. Let's see here. But UK versus the US. Different approaches on crypto, I think, is interesting. The UK files for a public feedback on its latest crypto rules. The UK economic stuff to the tragedy posted on LinkedIn that the UK government has laid secondary legislation to establish a comprehensive regulatory regime for crypto assets. This regime is aimed to provide legal clarity for firms. So they are doing legal clarity, but I think UK is taking a bit of more of a policing approach where they're being more involved and taking more of an approach from what I'm understanding, kind of like how the SEC did in crypto back a few years ago. Not as like they're not suing anybody or anything yet, but they're taking more of an approach where they're putting certain limitations on the amount of stable coins you can hold and different stuff like that. And while I'm sure this is going to allow for crypto to still be used in the UK, like they're obviously not going to outlaw it or anything. I think the two approaches are very obvious. Where the US is, they're creating regulation, like they're creating rules for sure, which is what we need. But they're kind of also saying we're creating these rules, and then we're also not going to, keep our head in everything. Like we're going to let the industry thrive, set up some rules, and let this industry thrive. So it can, be the crypto capital of the U.S. And I think these two approaches, while it's just going to be obvious for one, companies I think are just going to continue to build in the US versus I don't know if companies really build in the UK anyway. I think it's mostly like from what I understand like in the US or like China, and so I don't really know how that works, but like crypto companies are going to continue to be more incentivized to be in the US. I think it's the quality of life for being a crypto holder in the US is going to be obviously better, and I think maybe that in later governments I think what's going to end up happening is just like the internet. We've seen different companies take different approaches to the internet, but I think overall they pretty much have open rules to where you can use the internet as long as you're not using it to do crime, right? To use the internet more freely, right? Stuff like that, and it's kind of more of a free internet, not completely free, right? But like something that everybody can use. I think maybe that's what forces the UK to do that. But for now, it looks like they're taking more of a policing approach and more of a restrictive crypto policies. Let's see what this guy has to say about it.
Making it clear that it will. When it comes to crypto, the Bank of England is becoming the idiot bank. It's making it clear that it will just not back down from its anti-crypto policies.
Oh, shit.
Despite the mounting pushback, the central bank is pushing ahead with proposals to cap stablecoin holdings and tightly restrict how issuers manage reserves. It's being sold as prudence, but it increasingly looks like pure hostility. According to a new report in Decrypt, lawmakers and industry groups are warning that the approach will limit adoption and push activity offshore.
Damn, dude, Nathan, I swear to God, I did not watch that video. He literally just, bro literally just said what I said. No, that's funny. But yeah, it's just gonna push offshore on UK, offshore in the UK. It is just restrictive. Hopefully, later governments and as younger people start to come into power, that this isn't happening. But yeah, I would not touch crypto in a million years. He said that.
Of the American people shocked.
See, this is an example of what I was talking about a second ago. This is what people were
I
saying
do-
after FTX. You think this is bad right now? Like, listen to this is Jim Cramer on live TV.
I do know that, again, the faith of the American people shocked. Just shocked. I mean, I still think that, crypto, I sold all my crypto. I announced everything on TV, what I did with crypto. But I would not touch crypto in a million years. Because I wouldn't trust the deposit bank.
I'll show you where he.
And you're making no distinction between centralized, decentralized.
They fought regulation. They didn't want regulation, and you don't have regulation. So if you have your money in any of those, look, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying you're using a lot of blind faith. And I like to have my money at JP Morgan, and I check on Monday to see whether my balance is there. It's there. It feels good. Try getting your money out. When I had money, I'm not going to mention the firm that I had my money in, but it was a fight to get the money out. A fight. And I think that everybody who owns these various coins, Solana, Litecoin, I do think you're an idiot. Okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them. They shouldn't own them.
He said that, and this is where he said this. Let's see, February. What was like November of 2022. So this is the FTX dip, by the way. This is the FTX dip, and this was the end of the world for crypto. So this is where Jim Cramer was saying this right here. I don't know if you guys see this. Bloop, and it was the bottom. Bloop, and then ETH just went on to fucking 4x over the next couple years. So there's a couple lessons we can learn from this. First of all, when it seems like it's so fucking over, when it really did seem like it's over, like there was $1 billion of fraud. The SEC just got done suing everybody. The macro climate was still pretty shit. And then what did you see? The worst event in crypto's history, arguably, created literally a bottom like the next day. The bottom that still has not gone back down there. I mean, almost did, right? But and now you think this is bad? Like, that's what I'm saying. You just got to put stuff into perspective, and that's not me trying to like gaslight or like downplay the how bad this last year it's been. It's definitely been fucking. It's not been a great time, but just to show that like during the worst times in crypto's history, where it really did seem like it's over, that created the bottom, and people think it's impossible now that this may possibly somehow create at least a local bottom. I think all the signs are there, and I'm personally positioning for a bottom in the next few weeks. And I think what's going to happen on this next bounce is that at least temporarily, we're going to see the memes, the MOG, SPX, Giga, USDUC. We're talking about Troll, which I want to look at in a second. I saw MKT in the chat mention that. All are going to bounce back hard. I think we're going to get 3 to 5, 7, 10Xs across the board. And then we see if Bitcoin on the daily chart trades back above that 200 moving average. If it does, these entries that you're getting now on Troll, for example, because if Bitcoin goes back to all-time highs, if ETH goes back to all-time highs especially, I think we see Troll back to all-time highs or close. Maybe not at the same time, but I think if Bitcoin 2Xs, we see Troll go pretty close back to all-time highs, for example. And if these entries that you're getting now, the way I see it is that like this could be the very bottom, or we could go back down one more time after this bounce, right? But say it is the bottom, I think the probabilities and like the risk to reward here for me to grab a good amount of fucking my favorite coins is good. And let's say it goes back to all-time highs. I got, free 10, 20, 30, 50x entries, whatever it ends up being on, depending on the size of the coin. So to me, that's worth it, right? So that's what I'm expecting. I think Bitcoin bottoms out here. ETH bottoms out here above 2,700 in the next few weeks, shifts back above 3,500, let's say. And then from there, we see how strong the move is. If we start to see a bunch of crazy news start to come out, along with this bounce. Again, I think everything outside of price is just setting up for upside. So, what's up, Dynamite Jeff? I'm gonna look at troll here. I have to look at hype for somebody, but if you guys have any comments, questions, leave them in the chat too. I'm gonna go ahead and look at everything. What's good, Carl? How you doing, bro? Carl, how's your girl? What's her name? Bonnie Blue, Bonnie Blue doing? Did she get reversed or she get released? Last time, for those who don't have the context, Crypto Carl last stream brought it up. So, bro is the reverse guy. Oh, Jim Cramer, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure she's out, brother. I'm sure you would be you had post noties on her Twitter, huh? It's crazy, bro. Oh man. But yeah, what else do we got on the fucking docket today? UK versus UK. Yeah, so low cap setups. We'll look at that. Oh, also Micro strategy continues. Why is this not clicking? Continues to buy Bitcoin despite all the fun. And Peter Schiff says, have you noticed that every time you report your buys, the price is much lower than what you paid? You're pushing up prices every time you buy. After your next purchase, your average price will be 75K. Everybody says, I think a lot of people are asking, like, why do you always pay so much over spot? I don't think he's paying over spot. I think how it ends up working, and from somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but pretty sure it's more they can raise more money and they can get better terms on borrowing money when Bitcoin's at all-time highs or is like up, versus buying like right now they can't get as good of terms. So of course they want to buy at all-time highs. And of course that sounds crazy to people who are just like mid-curving it, but if you think that Michael I can't fucking speak. Michael strategy, Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor has like a 10, 20, 50 year vision for Bitcoin. Is he in that thing and it's going to 2 to 3, 5 million? Do you think he's really going to care if he bought at fucking 105 or 95? Like, no. But I mean, to the average person who isn't zooming out and is only thinking in terms of 2 to 3, 6 months, I don't blame them, right? Like, I get it. But yeah, Michael Saylor continues to buy. BlackRock just received 560 Bitcoin and 707,000 ETH. Does that mean they bought a bunch? Probably. Oh, they're selling everything. No, they received it. That doesn't mean they're selling. Yeah, it just means that they bought some, probably from inflows from the ETF. So that's bullish. That's bullish. Again, not much to talk about today like there is at these bottoms. But again, that's what we want to see every time in April. I don't know if you guys remember in April, I think this was April. Let's just look at Bitcoin for this. April, right before we bottomed out, we got the tariff news. Everybody thought it was going to be over for, you had some of the biggest accounts on Twitter tweeting, showing setups of 50K and 40K and stuff like that. It got really boring. Bitcoin swept the lows, and then we were back off to the running. I mean, same thing here. Rinse, repeat. I think the same thing's going to happen here. Does this happen here? I think that scenario, 30% chance. I think back to all-time highs where we just do that and then just continue to trend upward. I think that's, despite not being the popular opinion, is I think likely to happen, because everything else, if you had a checklist, if you envision a checklist of like everything in crypto that makes up like analysis or like makes up pretty much every aspect of crypto, the price action, the macro side of things, the institutional side of things, the regulatory side of things. And then you had all of those things, all of those have like green lights on them or they have check marks on them. And then all that's not checked yet, the only box that's not checked, the only thing that's not aligned with everything else bullish that's going on is price action. But you know what is going to check the box? Is Bitcoin confirming this bottom here. And when that happens, you're going to have everything, all the boxes checked. And at that point, because of these other boxes that are checked, I think those other boxes are what's going to lead to the all-time high move from here. Whereas in these other years, those other boxes, the macro, the institutional stuff, the regulatory stuff wasn't all hashed out. We have all 3 or 4 of those things ready to go, bullish, which of course could change at any time. But as of right now, all of those things are setting up pretty nicely. I think if we have price action kind of confirm at the bottom here, I think everything's going to be off to the races. So, my bad, Carl. To be fair, it's Michael's strategy. It really is, yeah. I think Michael Saylor's, like I say this every stream, and I think Michael Saylor, I literally just called him Michael's strategy again. Damn it, 20 and 30. Fucking me up, bro. No, I think Micro's strategy, and Michael Saylor are going to be flooded all the way to one of the top 3 to 5 companies in the world. I don't know about 5 now. You're gonna have SpaceX, and SpaceX is, yeah, I think top public companies, whatever. 3 to 5, you're gonna see MicroStrategy, because of Bitcoin's price going up, gonna be up there with the top 5 to 10 companies, and Michael Saylor right up there with Elon and everybody else in the Forbes list. And I think he's gonna get fudded all the way up there. All the great visionaries and people who do great stuff. Like, there's obviously people who love them, but there's also the general public usually completely doubt them and call them stupid and crazy. And you just study history. That's what happens. And then all of a sudden, when it is consensus, that's when the opportunity. Like, it'll be consensus, and he'll be looked at as like this visionary, legendary guy when Bitcoin's at like 1, 2, 3, 5 million, if it gets there. But I think the fact that everybody's kind of doubting it, and kind of you have like 70-80% of people, I'd say, like kind of really getting skeptical about MicroStrategy, is shows that I think we're really early. What's Bitcoin doing right now? Anything? Nope. So best case scenario is either, again, Bitcoin swipes down one more time, or we chop for 3, 4, 5 days. I think either higher low or double bottom. And I think we bottom out here in the next few weeks. Guys, I think all the signs are there. It's a patience game. I personally would not be selling any great coins right now. I think we'll go over some stuff right now. I don't think you need to overcomplicate stuff at all. I've heard Murad say a lot lately that like you, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, you can pick the category leaders right now in pretty much every. Oh my gosh, this troll setup is beautiful. You could pick pretty much category leaders in like every sector right now, and fucking oops, in every sector right now, and buy those, and you'll have 5, 10x's if we go back to all-time highs, probably more for a lot of these. And so for me, I've been buying some Doge and a few top 10 coins that I think are really just kind of slept on right now for when we do get another resurgence. Some AVAX. Other than that, I've been some ETH, some Sol, of course, but DCAing has been focused in 2 really core areas. The movement coins, movement memes, some kind of call them. I like to call them movement coins. I think they've separated themselves from meme coins. The movement coins and the buyback / revenue producing coins. I think those two, that barbell there, kind of puts you in the in 2 areas that are pretty much the 2 biggest areas in crypto. The speculative side, with the, obviously the world's trending more towards gambling, speculation, of all things, markets and all things. And then the other side, the institutional side. The institutions really value tokens and companies and stuff based on the revenue that they're producing and the value that they're giving back to holders, whether it be through dividends and stocks or, government, whatever, voting rights, whatever that might be. So being in those 2 areas, to me, 5 or 6 coins I've been really focusing on accumulating is the SPX. Again, already a $500 or $600 million coin, but I believe still 5, 10x pluses from here on the next run. That's how like great these asymmetric returns are here. And I call it asymmetric. It's a meme coin, but like how much risk to reward downside to how much upside I think it has is crazy for SPX. MOG, of course, Giga, ticker Bitcoin, some USDUC, a lot of, despite it only being a $5 million market cap. Troll, of course, which we're looking at just a second ago here. Troll is is a beautiful setup here. Not only has it been consolidating like Bitcoin, but it's actually manifested. This bottom has actually manifested itself like in a nice inverse head and shoulders. What do you see here? Shoulder, spike down, shoulder. These are one of the things I was talking about earlier on the stream that you can actually see repeat themselves on every single asset, but most people aren't looking at these things. They're not looking at the higher time frames. One of them are higher time frames, inverse head and shoulders, right? Where you got a shoulder, head, where it spikes down, and then a second shoulder that doesn't take out that second low. So if this is to hold true, I think what's going to end up happening here is it's going to chop sideways, maybe with Bitcoin for a bit. And once Bitcoin heads back up, we're going to see Troll shift out of this inverse head and shoulders bottom pattern. And if kind of final confirmation that the next leg up has started is a close back above, let's say 50, which would be above this consolidation high. At that point, I think it quickly pushes into 90, $100 million territory. And I think, again, my base case is that ETH, Bitcoin, Sol bounce back to all-time highs from this low at 81K. But let's say that doesn't happen, right? I think the secondary scenario for Troll could be something like this, where it chops sideways, goes up, Bitcoin tops out again below the 200 moving average, and then Troll comes down one more time. At that point, that might give you another buy opportunity, but I still find that the least likely scenario. And I still think we get something like this, and this may very well end up being the bottom for a long time on Troll if everything plays out. So yeah, I really like Troll here. I know some of you guys, if you USDC Troll people, like clip these. I want to go over a few of these one by one. Unstable coin, deep correction of 96, 97%. But look at Nub. Look at Nubcat. Nubcat, I would say, has a lot less mind share on the timeline. Maybe I'm just not looking at the timeline too much, right? But like Nubcat, or like at least maybe I don't have the Nub people in my timeline, but Nubcat was down from April 2024 to June of 2025, about 14 months. Nub came down 99% almost. What is this? Yeah, about 98%. It bottomed out in April, and then by the time back in August, 4 months later, was up about 30x. So it went down 99% to almost 3x off the highs. So while 96% for USDUC is significant, again, if you showed this to a TradFi person or to the untrained eye, they just assume this shit was dead. But if you look at the actual community involvement, how the community is still going, how much people are still pushing, and there's still I see as many USDUC PFPs and as many people talking about that as I do MOG and some of these other coins that I'm still extremely bullish on. I think SPX just dominates everything, like as far as the mind share on every platform. But other than that, like I think USDUC is right up there with MOG and maybe Giga and stuff. So even though it's spiking down now, I certainly would not count it out, but not even that. Like I have very strong confidence that USDC is going to bounce back because, again, of the core people driving it. I think when conditions return, that I'm really bullish. Thoughts on Miner? Yeah, I've seen a lot of people asking me about Miner lately. Never give up. What is this coin? Oh, of course, it's the meme. This is a really popular meme that does seem to have some staying power. So a nice bottom on here. I do think this could be could potentially be a nice corrective channel here on a. See, this is like nice price action, right? We've bottomed out here. We've held above this low for about 8 days, and it's showing some nice corrections every few days. I think this is a nice tight coil up that, especially if the market bounces back here in the next coming days, you're probably going to see this bounce again. So, If I was in this, I would do this, maybe target, take off 25% at like 3 mil. But if you're a believer in this coin, this is some good price action. Troll looks really good. Yeah, I agree. You see it overtaking useless eventually. I do too. I think Miss D, I think you're spot on. That's not the shit on useless. Like useless probably does well as well. I think movements are king. Movements over everything. That's why 6-7 is coming down now. That's why I don't care if 6-7 is a big trend. 6-7 is on the downside. It's like any saying. I'm not talking about the coin. I'm talking about the hype around the fad. It's like any saying. You think about it. Any saying, it's like everybody says it, and then if you say the same shit like 2 months later, everybody's like, bro, why are you saying that? That's so 6 months ago, right? Like it goes from like being the funny thing to being like the annoying thing almost, right? So I say that in saying that doesn't mean 6-7's fucked forever, but you have to ask yourself, do you think there's going to be a movement and a group of people that say, you know what, I'm going to take 6-7. I actually care about the cause behind 6-7 to kind of push it and take it and go up despite it being down. I don't really see that. I think there's a reason why every single one of these coins that survives the MOGs, the SPX, the Gigas, the USDUCs, they're all movements. They're all movements and stuff that have like these high mimetic ceilings that continue to push. Because if only reason you're continuing to push the coin is you want it to go up, or because it's a phrase, like there's just not, I just don't see movements really forming around sayings or single moments in time. They're formed around bigger ideas, whether that be flip the stock market, flip the stablecoins market cap. Troll is a little bit different because it is a strong movement, but it is a really strong meme, worldwide famous meme as well. So, yeah, no, I agree. I think Troll is up there with Giga, where they have a strong movement, a strong meme, and then they also have the IP, which I think is really they own the IP. Yeah, brain rot doesn't get lasted. Yeah. Even the term brain rot, like even that has um a, a shelf time, right? Or you know, shelf life. Yeah, as soon as the boomers figure it out, it's the top. Let's see. I see 6-7 seems inorganic to me. The actual coin, yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to the coin. I mean, I think people just think they see, oh yeah, this is the biggest thing in the media right now, but they fail to think ahead a bit and think, okay, but is this going to be the thing in a week from now? And is the attention peaked on it? Um, I think almost always when it is the hottest thing in the media, the attention from the actual coin has dissipated and there's going to be no catalyst to push it going forward for the most part. I could be completely wrong, and maybe people are saying 6-7 fucking 3 months from now, 6 months from now. I'm sure there will be some fucking boomers or some fucking um, old heads that like continue to say it because they think it's funny. But I think that's also a top signal, to be honest. I follow this guy Tim Livingston that I know from V Friends and other places, and he's a teacher, and he's even talking about how 6-7 is like kind of on the downturn as far as kids using it. They kind of think it's cringe now, and I think that's a sign, again, another sign that the attention is probably peaked on it. Of course, Miss D, thank you for being in the stream. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody who's hanging out with us today. How did that only get? Oh, I didn't even quote tweet. Damn it. I'm gonna go ahead and send out a quote tweet right now. One second. Let me know what you guys are up to though lately. Like, have you really been focused still heavily on crypto? Have you been seeing as much screen time? Or have you kind of been focusing on other stuff? If you have been focusing on other stuff, what has that been? Has that been the gym? Like for me, I've really been not just this last few months, but just overall in 2025 in general, been really optimizing my for my health in general, doing a lot of fasts, focusing on getting a little bit of leaner while obviously working out. The first time in my life since I was like in high school or right after that, I've been going to the gym consistently for like a year. Again, mostly because I know when times are strong again, how easy it is to neglect your health. So I want to be fucking dialed now, apart from just like, I don't know, it just translates when you feel, I don't know, when I feel good physically, it just translates into everything. Especially mentally. It's just like energy levels is a big part of it. I found when I'm optimizing health and I don't know, just not completely being a fucking slob. It just carries over to energy levels in the stream and just everything. I just feel a lot better. So I've been doing that. Obviously this year I've done a lot of good amount of traveling. In 2026, I want to do some international traveling, but man, I'd be lying if I said I like was taking a bunch of time off or anything. I'm just kind of doubling down. I feel like, because especially with the content and stuff, because a lot of people, I feel like there's Thread Guy, there's a few people that are consistently streaming that are killing it. So I just want to continue going. Because I know I look at anything, the streams, everything's more fun. The world is just fucking crypto world is just more fun when prices are up. But the people who lock in now and fucking get in the reps now, whether that be putting out content or the trading side, are the ones who are winning on the other side. That's always how it wins. Is Bitcoin okay? Cool. Yeah, I'm going to do that USDC giveaway here in about 15, 20 minutes. So if you want to be entered into that, I'm going to pick it randomly from the comments of this chat right now. So make sure to like, comment, retweet, share, all that good stuff. And I'll pick somebody from the comments. Only 33 people in there right now. And do not, White Ghost, brother, I see you commenting twice. Don't do that. No, I'm just kidding. Don't spam either. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but just know it's not going to give you 2 entries. Shout out to my boy Awesome Vibes tuning in. Shout out to everybody showing love. Man, are you guys noticing the chat? Let me know if you're noticing. The algorithm just completely different, right? I've noticed that like my good posts that I've had are still getting good engagement, right? Like I feel like the algorithm is becoming more efficient, but it's definitely like a tweet like this, even if it was just an announcement of a stream, like only getting 589 views. It's definitely a different algo, and it's always changing. I think they're trying to find a good, I don't know, they're just trying to adjust it always. But yeah, it's definitely different. I still feel like quality tweets shine through even better, but you can definitely just tell the difference. And I think a lot of people, it could be a lot that I don't know if there's what's it called, suppressing crypto stuff, or if it's just a lot less people looking for crypto stuff, so therefore the algo puts it down less on. I don't know what it is, but I'm still, I don't know. Like I said, the good tweets still do well, and it's definitely an interesting change.
The market has not been fun. It's not been fun for a while, and even in the bull market, even during the bull run, if you were off sides, if you weren't in memes, then it still wasn't fun. If you were in Ethereum, it still wasn't fun. If you missed Solana, it would have been brutal. Like if you want to sum up markets between, bear market, chop, bull market, froth, the actual amount of fun you have is like diminished. It gets diminished with every cycle, with every year.
That's what I was saying.
I've been in this space since 2017, so like I'm not that old, but or that old in this space, but whatever it's been, the 8 years, 9 years, whatever. In that time, I've only had fun between 10 and 15%.
That's so true. That's what I was saying. Like everything's so much fun.
And mind you, I'm a multimillionaire. It leads me to believe the vast majority, like the 95% plus, maybe even 99% of us, trading is not fun. Trading is not a fun industry to be in. It's not a fun job to have. It's not, I guess you could say it's fulfilling, but it will not make you happy in terms of like quality of life and satisfaction. The time that you put into it versus the dopamine you receive is going to be disproportionate, extremely disproportionate. You're going to put in a shitload of time and effort, and you're not going to be rewarded over like 85% of the time. And then in very small windows, it's going to be the greatest job in the world. You're going to make a killing, a fuckload of money, an insane amount, enough to retire you.
It's literally like
And that's going to be like the turbo dopamine.
Again, like the only way the best way to do well on these next periods though is locking in during these periods. Because again, the market bottoms out usually. Like you can see, like I talk about impulsive behavior on charts is because impulsivity is very fast. When the market bottoms out, it usually bottoms out and then rips. I remember Mike was saying, the guy Mike Williams, Max, who used to have on our stream, used to always say that like 50 to I forgot what the term, like 70 to 80% of the gains in a year come within 10 or 20 days. So if you're trying to time the market and getting out here and trying to buy back here, chances are you're going to miss those fucking days where the market actually moves. And usually that's off the bottom. So while what Gainsey says 100% true, bro, I think about that shit like every fucking day. Like I think about like I'm still so blessed to be here, and I'm so happy. I'm so much further than I was, several years ago. But just like the overall vibe, I'm really referring to in life, like on crypto Twitter, and just like quality of life more so on crypto Twitter is just night and fucking day. The vibes are just like everybody's completely happy when everything's going up. Like it's just everything's funny. They're just like whatever. And then now it's just like either boredom or just it's definitely like palpable, right? So while what he said is completely true, I think what you can take away from that is the way that you enjoy that 10 or 15% that he's talking about is by locking in during now and tuning into streams like this, which you again should like, comment, retweet, share, all that good stuff. But yeah, lock in when streams like this, reading, continue to be on Twitter. I really think the number one way that you can learn the most is going on YouTube and typing in either, I'll give you 3 great podcasts right now, like Bankless. Like Bankless is one. Thread Guy is probably the most obvious example, maybe more applicable to stuff that people in our niche might want to learn more about, which is more meme coins or for whatever else. Thread Guy, or there's one when something happens, I forgot whatever. But anyway, podcasts that are interviewing experts. The 1 to 2 hour podcast where the expert on Hyperliquid comes on, the founder of Hyperliquid or the founder of this, or the expert of the macro guy that's been trading the markets for 30 years, or the expert in this, or the DeFi, like learning from and watching interviews from experts who, that's where all the next nuggets, and the way I went from having like no finance background to being able to like understand these bigger concepts and talk about these things or whatever, is because I watched the interviews from the experts, literally not only breaking down their experiences, which are priceless, but how markets work and just different nuggets that you wouldn't get just by scrolling Twitter or by watching clips alone. So yeah, Bankless, Thread Guy. If you're more on the meme coin side, there's gonna be Thread Guy interviews a lot of great people. Obviously, don't take everybody's stuff for whatever you want to decide. Take a bunch of different information, but all these, definitely watching interviews and stuff like that right now, I think is a good use of people's time. Are you taking time off for over Christmas? No, I'll be in the area of where I'm at, so I'm not taking any crazy trips. But I mean, Misty, like taking time off, right? Like, to answer your question, no, not really. Like, I mean, on Christmas itself, right? Like, I'm not gonna be like tweeting up a fucking storm, right? And Christmas Eve and stuff, but just I don't know. I'm not going to go on some like 2-week vacation for sure, because we have the blessing of work from fucking home and whatever. So it's business as usual and right up until Christmas. What are the dates though? What is it? Friday stream will land on the day after Christmas, I think. Is that right? No, 23rd. Next Friday. So we got the 23rd. Yeah. So Christmas is on next Thursday. That means the stream would be on the day after Christmas. So we should be fine there. Christmas, yeah. Christmas Eve though. Yeah, Christmas Eve is Friday, right? So I don't know. We might do a stream on there, maybe not. We'll see. I might. I don't know. I'll announce that, but for the most part, it's business as fucking usual. UFD revealed IP today. Nice. I didn't see that. UFD, another one that's down 98%. A lot of people might not understand it, but if you look at the the team slash core community, I think it'd be crazy that if meme coins bounce back, that this one doesn't have at least a big resurgence. Okay, so big IP, Happy. Okay, so it's a new IP. Are they creating characters around it? The IP rollout could not have been better time. The new logo is amazing. Dusty is neat as fuck. Custom is already rolling out. Okay. So they're creating new IP around it. Let's see.
This is no joke. This is real. It's called Unicorn Fart Dust, and this is no joke. This is real. People are buying it. As a matter of fact, right now.
I don't. That's not about the IP. But anyway, I know UFD, just like everything, might not be for everybody, but I think that it's undeniable how strong the community is behind it and how much they believe in it. And I think there's Ron's basement right now. When meme coins are not strong, it may not seem like it matters that he has a big platform and he's like a long-term guy, but I think when conditions are good, having somebody like him at the helm of it, I think is bullish as well. So yeah, I would not count out UFD as on, you know. But I'll do that giveaway here shortly. Shout out to Godric. Shout out to fucking Shadow. I think Shadow is fucking great. Shadow's one of the few people on crypto Twitter that's like really funny, but also he's like a really like seems like a great trader and not only just a trader, but like he has like long term views and is like a long term motherfucker, which I'm always bullish on. But he's also a fucking clown, like funny as fuck. NFTs. I know we used to have like a dedicated fucking time for NFTs, but I made a tweet about it yesterday. My NFT portfolio, which we look at a bit sometimes. Not many changes recently. Obviously, ETH coming down. Overall the USD value. I should change this to fucking ETH value, but it's come down a bit. But the projects I'm in, which is like 90% VFriends, has actually held better percentage wise than any PFP really out, like any NFTs really out there. When Pudgies were at like 6 or 7, 8 ETH, maybe 9 ETH. I don't know. VF1s were, I don't know, 1.5 or something, and now it's come back down to like maybe 1.1. What are Pudgy's? What was Pudgy's peak a few months ago? Anyway, VF1s have held extremely strong overall. So in ETH, my portfolio hasn't gone too much down, but overall, guys, I think NFTs. I do ascribe to the belief that like my boy Hemdog and my other friend Jaden always say that NFTs are like another form of an altcoin or another form of like a speculative crypto vehicle, but even more so, even more speculative and down the risk curve. If Bitcoin is down and the whole crypto market has been down the last year, like why should we expect NFTs to be doing better at all, right? we've seen like a few bounces from NFTs. We saw Pudgy's bounce in the whole overall market bounce off of a few Web3 announcements, coins, you know, certain partnerships, stuff like that. But obviously that the hype from that has died down, and now we've seen a lot of prices come back down even lower than their 2024 lows. A lot of these are hitting 2022 lows, guys, which is crazy. But I think NFTs are, a few things could happen here. The entire market rips. NFTs finally get like a breakaway. What I think is going to drive them higher for real this time is it some or one or a few mainstream catalysts. Whether that be Rolex, for example. This is like a slam dunk. Like I just find this unlikely that this doesn't happen eventually. Rolex implementing NFTs to, for every single watch that comes out of the dealer, there's an NFT that is attached that acts as a digital collectible. It's just like a cool fucking digital collectible of your watch. Same version of it. You pull it up, it's on there. But as well as it acts as an authentication for that Rolex so that nobody ever can say, oh, this Rolex is fucking, this Rolex is fake. It has the NFT or NFC, whatever the fuck the technology is, connected to the watch that, okay, I want to see if this Submariner or this fucking whatever the fuck it is, or this AP or whatever AP is gonna, like, all of them are probably gonna do it. AP like is real. Let me see the original NFT minted from Rolex. Oh, you can't show me that? Okay, then it acts as like a ticket of authentication, the fucking whatever it's called, but even more foolproof because it's on chain. It's immutable. So Rolex doing that, PSA doing it for cards. It could be 5 to 10. I could name 10 examples right now of companies that could implement NFTs right now to where if they did, the entire NFT market would probably fly, right? Or it could be the SEC, some kind of law around NFTs, or somebody launching a big NFT collection, something like that in the mainstream. I think it's inevitable that it's going to launch NFTs back to a resurgence. And I think the top 2 to 3% of NFTs that have survived are going to have a big resurgence. And VeeFriends, I think, is the most obvious one to me. Obviously Pudgies, Apes, obviously I think are going to do well. The Good Vibes Club, certainly I think undervalued for when we do come back. Gary V, J Bond tweeted this today. Gary V, he tweeted this in October of 2021 that 99% NFTs won't be good investments and there'll be some massive crashes in the next 24 months. Many will get confused and think it's a fad, right? That's when it gets really good. This will be an interesting decade. Oh, and that 1% will be all-time returns. I think I believe we are in that kind of that last phase he says there, that many will get confused and think it was a fad. That's when it gets really good. I think that's where we're at. I think a lot of people thought that fad or that winter would have been over in 23 or 24 or 25. But a lot of people thought that the internet stocks were going to have bottomed out by 2001, but it took all the way until 2004. I saw on the Thread Guy stream the other day that Stanley Druckenmiller, which is one of the most famous traders of all time, extremely successful. He actually longed internet stocks too early. He longed them in 2002 or 2003 before they bottomed out, and he lost a lot of money before they eventually bottomed out a year later. And then Amazon went 250x. If you look at Amazon right here, Amazon really quickly. Yeah, I got it. Amazon back in 2001. Am I on the crypto version? Amazon. Okay, here we are. Amazon back in 2001, if you would have bought that. Damn, you have to scroll so fucking far back. Amazon back in 2001. It did bottom out in 01 actually, huh? Okay, so he must have like longed them in like 2000 or something. But anyway, they bottomed out in 2001, and if you would have bought Amazon at 30 cents and held it up till now, you'd be 1,000x, I think that is, right? $3, and then you 3x that again, or 100x that again. Yeah, 1,000x if you would have held for the last 25 years. Even if you would have bought in 2008, 2009, which is essentially 2009, 15 years, you'd be up 300x. So I do believe that we are in that kind of that period where we're still in a winter, but I think NFTs, because they are such a transformative technology, are going to become a huge technology class. And then there's going to be a few companies like VFriends. Excuse me, guys, I need to get some water. But VFriends, Pudgy Penguins, uh, Good Vibes Club, Chimpers, select few that have survived, I think are going to go on to become big companies. But along with NFTs. But give me 1 second here, get some water. All right. Yo, Bren, when Bitcoin bounces and mid caps gear up, dive into Canal Corn, hand drawn MS Paint art from 2011, origins from the dev. Now at 10K generative NFTs with 2,200 minted in less than a week. Buying 40K tokens for free. That's cool, bro. Let me look. Is the coin out? Looks like a pretty low cap, 200, 211. Yeah, so pretty sizable correction. It did correct for did go sideways for 2 or 3 weeks. Honestly, not gonna lie, brother, this is a nice tight corrective channel. It's a really nice setup. If Bitcoin does bounce in the next few weeks, I would not be surprised to see this bounce, maybe back to all-time highs, if not more. And if there's a lot of stuff going on with the community, you really feel there's a real movement kind of building around the art / the artist, then this might be the time to accumulate. I can tell you the chart setup looks really nice. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this. Yeah, Miss D, I appreciate that. I mean, to be fair, it's not. I'm not gonna, it's not. Let's just say if those went to zero right now, I would be fine, right? Like, I don't think they're going to, and I would not be happy, obviously, but it's not like I'm betting the fucking my entire life on the NFTs going up, and that's why I've been able to. I bought most of these for a year, right? They've been sideways and a little bit down for a year, and I don't really feel anything like any worry or anything because I've given myself, like, if this were half my money or 3/4 of my money, like, it'd be a bit different. But I think I've, like anything, you want to size it to where it's not gonna make or break you, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, no, I do. That is a big bet on NFTs, and I think I think same as why I think meme coins are so obviously gonna grow from here is that you just look at where the world's trending towards. The world's trending towards speculation and everything having a bet or a market, as well as it's trending towards collecting Pokemon cards, Labubus, um, sports cards, everything. Collecting is only going to get bigger. NFTs are the next final frontier, really. I think the next form of collecting because they can quickly implement it into the physical products. But the one thing physical products don't have is potential programmable utility to where 10 years from now, the say Pokemon came out with a card, Charizard card, fucking back in the day. If they wanted to go back, now 25 years later and reward everybody who bought those cards or bring them together for an event or give them something, it'd be really hard to do that. Now, NFTs allow brands to not only reward holders, but then track behavior and all these great things. So I think it's just where the world's headed. I don't know the timeline. I think there's a good chance that as the market heads up next year, that they will be some type of NFT catalyst, whether it be fucking GTA somehow has NFTs in the marketplace. I don't know how likely that is. Something like that out of left field that pushes NFTs really into escape velocity past and gives them a reason for people to really be bullish on the future. I think the obvious signs are there if you really zoom out, but most people just need to see a big company with NFTs or somebody big telling them that NFTs are good. So Do I see BAYC ever hitting all-time highs again? This is good. BAYC ever hitting all-time highs again? That's a great question. That's a interesting question because when you ask that question, there's two ways you can answer it, right? Is it going to go up again in USD or is it going to go up in ETH? ETH is actually pretty similar price, maybe a little bit lower now to where it was when Bored Ape Yacht Club hit its all-time high in ETH. So it's actually pretty comparable. But the all-time high for Bored Ape Yacht Club is actually pretty nuts. It went all the way to top tick all the way to like 128 ETH, but around 100 ETH here, guys. Went all the way to 100. What's it called? Went all the way to 100 and then 100 ETH and then came all the way back down to like 3 or 4 now, right? So 108 ETH back then. Is there even USD prices? 108 ETH back then was probably, I think it was like 128 ETH. And then ETH back in 2021, back at its peak when Bored Ape was around like 4,500. Yeah, like 36, 38. So you do 37 times 128. You're looking at like, it was like 400 or 500K. So do I think Bored Ape Yacht Club hits all-time highs in ETH ever again? I'll say I think Bored Ape Yacht Club, when NFTs become, it's obvious to people that NFTs are the next, great form of technology, and every different app is using NFTs to verify assets on chain and all these different things. I think the likelihood that a Bored Ape Yacht Club being like the original kind of 10K PFP that really built hype around it, and obviously if the other side and stuff goes well, I could definitely see Bored Ape Yacht Club back at its 400K price range. Again, that's going to take the NFTs just seeing mass adoption, and it's all these companies. Nike is attaching an NFT to every single one of its shoe. Like, it's going to need to be that type of world. I think that's likely to happen. Now, is it going to go back to 128 ETH in a world where ETH is at 10K? Are we going to see $1.2 million apes? I think the thing that you might want to question, and like the tough thing is, does the price of ETH going up over time outpace the Bored Ape Yacht Club going up in ETH, right? Like, I think it's going to go up in USD. I think it'll go to all-time highs in USD eventually. That's what I think. If you had to guess, gun to my head, because of where I think NFTs are going. But does it go back to 100 ETH? I don't know. I really don't know. So the people who used ETH to buy Bored Ape Yacht Clubs at Bored Apes at this time, they may never get that ETH gains back ever again. I don't know. I could see it. It depends. If ETH goes to 10K in the next few years, you pretty much have to ask yourself, does ETH go to 10K first, or does Bored Ape Yacht Clubs go to 120 ETH? I think ETH probably goes to 10K first, to be honest. And in that world, I don't know if Bored Ape Yacht Club ever returns to all-time high in ETH. That's a tough one. Depends how big ETH goes. But stuff like VFriends, which hit 20 ETH back in 2021. I think that very likely goes back to all-time highs. You can think of a $10,000 ETH with a 15 ETH VFriend. That's 150K. Doable for sure. They were at near there. They were at about 40, 50K back in 2020, 2021. So that's why my bet is VFriends. I know it may not be the cool thing to people. It might be misunderstood. If you're not a Gary Vee guy or you don't know much about him, you might think like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are these characters like? But I think if you really dive into it, I think Gary's content, for me, is really changed my life and a lot of other people's lives. And I think he's not for everybody. He'll tell you this himself. His energy and the way he presents himself, especially in clip short form content, is really memeable. A lot of people post shit trolling him, right? But like, that's fine. But like, the people who do understand his content, a lot of it's like transformed their life. Like, they really find value from it. But he's not for everybody. But characters, for example, that actually portray certain characteristics that he's portraying in his content may actually be attractive, or that may actually attract kids, or may actually be whatever to kids or people all around the world. It's more palatable, and I think the actual characters and the content itself, people are going to fall in love with it. They already are, and stuff. But I think that's what separates VFriends to me, is not just Gary Vaynerchuk being behind it, being an amazing operator. He has a business in Vayner Media that produces 300 million a year. He called Facebook. TikTok was the biggest one. He was right when it got bought by like Musically, or even around that. He said this is going to be the next biggest app in the world, when it was just people dancing on it, and nobody believed him. But that literally is that now. And he says, like he said in that thing, that NFTs are going to be the next transformative technology, and the people who are buying during the time where everybody thinks it's a fad, there's going to be all time gains. So, yeah, the fuck was that? That was crazy. My producer just chimed back in. It was a crazy chime. I don't know if you guys could hear that. That was nuts. There was a crazy. I'm talking to my producer right now, but there's a crazy chime when you just came back in. It was like, ding. I thought you were like telling me to stop talking or something. No, that's hilarious. But yeah, enough of this rant. But yeah, I think NFTs are going to see their time. Whether it's 5 months from now, it's 5 years from now. I don't think it's going to be 5 years. It's like an exaggeration. But I think in the next few years, they're going to have their time. Let's go to do that giveaway real quickly here. If you did comment, doesn't matter if you're off, I will shoot you a DM. Let me go ahead and do it. 34 entries. There's actually a good shot. There might be even less people too. So, dude, there's a good shot for somebody to win something right now. 1, 2, 3. All right, the winner is. One second. It's loading. It's loading. The winner is my good buddy from France. Not good buddy. I don't know you yet, brother, but like my good the homie from France, fucking someone here. Is this in France? Either way, that looks fucking beautiful. Either way, I appreciate you for retweeting the stream. You are the winner of the $100 USDC giveaway. I appreciate you. You've retweeted the stream a few times over the last few weeks, so I appreciate you from tuning in. Let me know in France right now. I don't know what, I don't even know what season it is there, but I appreciate you for tuning in and supporting the stream. I'll go ahead and send that USDC after. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stay on for a few more minutes and make sure there's nothing crazy that happened while we've been on here. Oh shit. Looks like Cyrus is talking about how CryptoPunks floors. There's currently here of all the CryptoPunks that are currently being used as collateral and a loan for more than 80K. So I mean, if NFTs don't go up soon, that a lot of these loans are probably gonna be liquidated or whatever, and maybe pushing prices lower, like we saw with the Penguin. So I don't know, man. VFriends, my main collection, has been holding, but I'm definitely considering pulling the trigger on both a Pudgy or a few Pudgies potentially, but a Pudgy and Ape. I already have a Mutant, but an Ape, and then definitely a few Good Vibes clubs. So it's interesting. Might be a time to actually get a Punk. That's what I've been searching for too. But congratulations using VPN. No, I'm in Iran using VPN. Oh shit. Well, thanks for being honest, bro. That's cool though. That's all good. Same country, W. Looks like you're really from France. He's from Iran, but that's cool that you're chiming in from Iran and Syria. That's cool. Oh, you are in Iran. My bad. That's nuts. Oh, but yeah, not much going on, guys. We're just waiting for Bitcoin to finish up this setup. It could happen before Christmas. It could chop down towards this low into Christmas. Really, what I'd like to see here for the bottom to be confirmed is some type of sideways movement or one more swipe to the low. But the slower we chop down back towards 80K, I think the better. Because again, it confirms corrective behavior. Very rarely do you see a slow chop down towards a low, and then all of a sudden it just goes down like a big red candle out of nowhere. Usually, you can think about this logically. Usually, indecision and choppiness leads to like slowdown. That's kind of how it is, a coil up, where something's coming down, but it's coiling up and pressure's building for the next large move up. That's why these corrections are usually very tight and choppy, especially that last move down towards the low that we usually see. It's because price and sell pressure is seeing its last breaths before buy pressure takes over again. So that's what I think we're seeing here. Bitcoin, I think, continues to chop between here and 80K for this foreseeable future, meaning the next few weeks, maybe next few days, next few weeks. And I think it bottoms out here between here and 81K. So I think that move leads us to 100K plus, and we reevaluate from there. But either way, I think 2026 is going to be strong, and we just got to let this play out. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream today. Had some pretty decent viewership, especially since I didn't quote tweet it till the end, and then we have some pretty big names on right now. We got Thread Guy, Moose, and we got, obviously, I think earlier I saw somebody else. 671 viewers on the Cupsy and Jack one. That's cool. That's awesome. But yeah, there's pretty big names on right now, so I appreciate you guys all for spending your time with me. And we're going to do this every Tuesdays and Fridays, 11:30 a.m. PST. We have a Twitter space with my boy Hemdog. Turn on post notifications for him. Thursday Twitter space. We'll announce that soon. If you want to come hang out with us there, chop it up, come up there. Again, Thursday, probably around 2 p.m. PST. But I hope everybody is doing okay. I know for me, man, I've been doing this shit for 10 years. Every single bear market, every single correction seems to get a little less, you definitely feel it a little bit less as far as like, anxiety and stuff like that. Part of that is because I've seen what comes on the other sides of this. Like I said, we've seen way worse. But if you're feeling like distressed and you felt like maybe you were at the top of the fucking world, this time last year, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever the fuck may be, like, trust me, it's definitely like I can feel it too. It's night and day, just the experience every day. Like, this shit is my entire, a big part of my life too. So, feeling that, the environment of that, like, you just definitely feel it. So I'm right here with you, but I can tell you, you study these charts yourself, but take it from somebody who's been through this shit. Always on the other side of these things, man. Like, especially now, I think the risk to reward, everybody always use that. Like, the risk that crypto is going to go to zero from here, or the risk that it's not going to become this massive asset class is so low, and the reward is so high because these assets are so fucking down the last year or so, that I think we're in the perfect fucking opportunity that this next leg will probably be the strongest one we've seen in a long time, if not ever, over the next few years at least. So, like, I implore you to keep going. Don't obsess over charts. Don't depress yourself. Definitely get the health dialed, get all that other shit dialed. But I'm telling you, I can so confidently say that the best is yet to come, whatever time frame that may be on. But yeah, Friday's stream, we'll be back. Definitely go check out right now Thread Guy talking to Cupsy, especially if you're trying to learn the meme coin shit.
Well, Cupsy, I think I cut you off.
We're both on at the same time. That's cool. But go check that out. And turn on post notifications. Shoot me a follow if you haven't already. Like, comment, retweet, all that good stuff. And I will go ahead and